Hello and welcome. My name is Natty Cash, and we are back with Asbury Pines. This is part 5 that we're in. So if you want to go back to the very beginning to see how we got to this point, please take a look at my channel. But as we see here, just a little quick wrap up of what we had talked about is that we had some things happening. So we had a number of storylines in the present that led to kind of this changing of the world, apocalypse, Armageddon, that situation that happened, and seeing kind of some communications going, and yeah, lots of fun things going on here. And we have some new characters to discuss. Old Danny Pratis, who was the husband of the late Everly Pratis, and Gavin is their son. This Deborah Wolf character we don't know too much about. But the other thing that comes in is that we have these resources here that we have to deal with as well. So we have to sort that out. But in the meantime, we also unlocked a past storyline that we have to follow. A young Sheriff Buzz Snow before we saw some of his story here. A young Alvin Van Eysen, which we've followed his story. A middle-aged Romina Zappa, and a young Danny Pratis. So we need to follow these storylines. But part of what we have to do is also recognize that we have to get some experience. As we look at our production flow, we don't have any experience in this Y2K time zone here. So we're going to have to find a way to get experience there. We have a decent amount in the present, and some of it's trickled forward into Worm 83. But the main idea is, like, a lot of our characters don't require experience there. We have to look at finding plastics and electricity, which actually requires us to make computers and knowledge, which are a newer resource coming into our understanding here. So let's take a look at some of our resource screens here. We right now have the young Van Eysen here helping us get some resources from downtown Asbury. We have some of the other ones running and scavenging there. The main thing is we're trying to get this classic diner built, so we do need 100 food, which actually we're going to be pretty darn close to. I'm sure if I just wait here a moment, it'll tick forward and we can set someone up to build here. Perhaps young Danny can sit here and build. So that's going, and that will then start producing some resources. And we've got some resources being produced in our other timelines here as well. So some food and some fuel. And then we, again, also have some experience. So what we can see here is that the clearing in this timeline, for us to gain experience, we need money and we need computers. So there must be somewhere in here where then we are able to produce computers. That's also going to help that those computers produced in this timeline are going to help us produce electricity for our future timeline, which is going to help us produce some of our future things here as well. Looks like we've finished scavenging the barter this area here. Again, that just gives us a little tick of progress here, and we're going to finish scavenging here. It's not the same as when we start looking at exploring and trying to reveal some of these storylines, like at Everly Pratis' murder scene and at the deserted suburbia, township landfill, so on and so forth. We also do have a couple artifacts that we're working on. The first one here is still the murder weapon. So we've got that going, and that's going to give us a ton of prestige in the present. Unfortunately, that isn't going to help us for the past. But we do have another one here, a strange pendant necklace, which is going to give us computers, some experience, and some money. So I'm actually going to set someone. So I had her researching, but I'm going to have her running through this. And so in about 3 minutes, that's going to give us a boost of experience so we can reveal some storylines. It's also going to give us a boost of computers, which then will be helpful for making our own prestige as well, and help our future timelines as well. So the main thing is we're going to have to produce computers here. And there's only a 70% transfer, then a 50% transfer. So it's not going to cause a lot of computers to be here. So we're going to have to be very patient before we can start producing electricity over here. But in the meantime, I think our classic diner, once it gets built, we're going to then have the ability to to build a fair bit over here and start progressing some of our storylines as well. We still don't have any animals or plants to reveal, so we'll have to wait on those as well. And what are some perks that we have? We do have some very beginning perks here, and we don't have anyone working on the science perks at the moment, but we have a lot of leftover people that are good with government. So this is progressing pretty well, and we'll finish this fairly shortly. So I'm going to maybe let this run a little bit, but it gives us kind of a starting point for us to look at. Oh, it looks like we did finish Dory's Diner, so let's get someone working there. How about Danny? You can work there. So it converts meat into money and computers, which actually works out really well for us to then be able to use some of that here. So is there anyone else that we can take here? I'm going to let that run a little bit, help us build a stockpile, and then we can start producing our own experience. Because Romina is examining this, we're going to reveal some experience already from that, so we don't need that right away. Eventually, right, to finish this storyline, we're going to need 1,500 XP for the young sheriff, and we're going to need close to 2K for the Romina Zappa's middle-aged era here. So again, very interesting. We're probably going to have to wait a fair bit before we start revealing some of these storylines. It'll be interesting to see how they compare with Old Buzz Snow, him resigning, and Old Mayor Van Eysen. But yeah, we'll kind of have to slowly make our way to that point. So I might pause it here for a moment. I'm going to then let the game run. And once I have some storylines for you and some progress, we'll take a look and develop the story further. So a little time has gone past now, and we can take a look here. We do have a story from Romina here. I'll also reveal that we did finish this artifact. It says, "The one-eyed woman's face is intricately engraved on the green gem." Now this is an artifact from the past, and we had Everly Praedis had that eye patch, so that's a fun little potential connection here, and potentially why Romina is so obsessed. But let's take a look at what her story says here. $28.43 to my name, and help wanted signs are a complete joke. I'd do anything. Stock shelves, sweep streets, clean toilets. Even Dory at the diner won't take another chance on me, all because of my time with Pathfinder? I suppose he is doing illegal things, but damn it, who was he hurting? He made me feel cared about. I mattered in his dreams. I still remember the dark, the bits, the little girl, the rip, the green gem necklace. Father Bo Higgins said he was a good soul taken by the devil. In that case, I miss the devil. How can he be so kind to me if he's evil? Sheesh, what a mess. The final eviction notice came in. The last bit of brain pills went a few days ago. My mind feels louder and louder, but at least I can make it foggy and soft with some booze. Some simple medicine. Ha! Where to sleep next week? The woods? The pines? Just like the little girl, the rip. Yes, I'll join her. But first I need to see how much more medicine I can get. $28.43. So recently homeless, it says. So interesting to see kind of her development of maybe someone that was stable but starting to use some substances to get a little bit more balanced. We do have a scenario here where we're getting some blocked figures here. I think that's just because the scavenging that's happening here is not as fast as the working that's happening here. The main problem is that this only is successful 80% of the time, so that's why that slows down a little bit. And eventually that might slow down this as well. Looks like we're going to get close to revealing that as well. One other thing I do want to do, so we are starting to build experience through that nature location. I'm going to then let young Sheriff Buzz Snow start revealing his story a little bit here. I don't think we opened up anything new, but we were stopped. We couldn't continue with Romina's story here. So after a few ticks, we should end up having Sheriff Buzz Snow's story, as long as we have enough XP. Oh, we do have a clearing story unlocked, so in the meantime, we can go there. So it says The Clearing. Trash Haven. Seems all older students at Asbury High know about the small path. As indiscernible as a game trail, it leads deep into Pine Hills Park and ends at a patch of trampling grass. The Clearing, a plot for anarchy. Shooting empty beer cans after church, smashing bottles against trees for the thrill of the shatter, smoking weed under the stars in peace, spray painting dicks and jokes on falling logs, summoning Ouija board ghosts, tugging each other's clothes off, celebrating the end of the school year with a bonfire of homework notebooks. How old is this trash haven? No one can say, though somehow it always stays familiar. So, fun little hideout here, a forced hidden plot for high school anarchy. Now, there's a couple other things that happened. We did get some another story here, and we also revealed something new to us. We're going to let this keep running as long as we have the experience. So let's take a look here. Sheriff's badge likely to pass to familiar hands. Local legendary lawman Aldous T. Snow has retired from his role as sheriff. His son, current Deputy Sheriff Rodney Buzz Snow, is anticipated to run in the sheriff's election next month and win it by a landslide. Unsurprisingly, he runs unopposed. Aldous leaves behind a Mount Rushmore-sized legacy, foiling a bank robbery with marksman skill and arresting infamous smuggler kingpin Cal Holt after a shootout are only a couple of tall tales that paint this legend. The governor has even shortlisted him for the Presidential Medal of Honor. Though his son Buzz has a giant's shoes to fill, he may be well on his way. He was a top graduate at McKinley Police Academy with high marks for conscientiousness, grit, and commitment to duty, and he has served admirably in his deputy role. Asked how he feels about following his father's legacy, Buzz stated, I'll add to it any chance I get." Very interesting, because what we had discovered before, that he kind of felt very jaded over here about his role, and then eventually leads to him stepping away from his role. So very interesting, level of promise here. Now, there's another thing to note, is that we have a plant. So we have this Grand Ponderosa Pine. Right now it's idle, but it is a character we can use, and so can do some life and some nature and exploring, which is really interesting, because what we can do is, instead of having Romina here, we can actually have the tree run this, and actually it does it a little bit better. And then what I can do is I'm going to send Romina over here, and we can start progressing a little bit towards the science. So kind of interesting how these plants work exactly. There actually will be, because I've played a little bit ahead previously, there will be a point where we can actually have a little bit of a story here from the tree's perspective, which is an interesting perspective to see. So yeah, we're then continue forward. I don't think we revealed anything yet in the future at this point. We're just kind of focused on the past here, but we'll kind of see kind of how things happen with young Sheriff's story as it continues forward. We still don't have anything that produces ideas, so we're very stuck on pursuing either of these two stories. And eventually there'll be a point where we can maybe start producing some electricity if we have enough computers built up. But at the moment, we really need to be producing experience here, because we're going to run pretty low here, and it'll be tough to continue our stories here. But another one is ticked here for the young sheriff, so let's take a look at it. Wow, LMAO 700k views and counting. For everyone called this vid staged, this cop is Sheriff Buzz Snow in my town, and someone who I know actually recorded him parked on a residential street while snoring in a squad car with a half-eaten burger on his chest. You can see the sheriff jolt awake and yeet the burger all over the car when my friend smacked the driver's window and ran. The sheriff won't talk about this to the press, and now everyone's wondering if he's lazy AF. And get this, his dad was the town hero for like decades. Can't make this shit up, LMAO. So, not really turning out exactly like you would want it. Now we're going to run in here and you can see a little bit that because we aren't producing this as fast as possible, right? Despite us having enough resources, we're only making 3 experience every 3 seconds. So this is going to take a little bit of time for us to plug our way forward into this position here. I don't think there's anything else that we can really do. We can take a look at our production flow because we need some of those computers, right? Though some of those computers are being used for the experience. So I can't, if I go back to the production flow, I really can't use a lot of these computers to build electricity. Like I'm not going to build a whole lot with only 126. And really this is going down because we're actually running through these computers more than we can produce them. So we are going to run into a scenario where it's not really useful to spend these at this point in time. Maybe later on we can run this a little bit further. I think at this point we can stick with the storyline here in the early 2000s and follow that along. And it shouldn't take too long here. This is going to ping. Oh, and so not only did it ping, which we'll take a look at in a moment, we are going to keep him kind of running here for a moment. Well, actually, you know what? We'll see. I'm going to actually pause and go idle. We'll build that up a little bit. I might introduce us to Father Enoch Bohiggins over here. Remember that he was mentioned a little bit that Father Bohiggins thought this Pathfinder person was taken by the devil. So we'll kind of see his perspective a little bit here as well. Because again, that is earlier in the story than some of the things we're reading about Buzz Snow. But let's take a look and read this here. Oh, we also have another workstation revealed. Oh, interesting. So we could build this. However, we might need to then stop this from happening to allow a little bit more of that to build up, right? We're going to have to scavenge enough meat to build that. That might mean that we run out of some money in computers here, but yeah, I think eventually building that's going to be the best to try to produce as much as possible. Anyways, in the meantime, if we have enough, we'll try to then reveal his story here. Let's look at the sheriff. Police department, reported offense, suicide by hanging. Sharon Huang was jogging at dawn and reported a 55-kilogram body hanging from Grand Rosa. Body identified as white male, about 6'2", gray hair, thin, older, rough tattoo of eye on forehead. No sign of life, no foul play apparent. Clothes, body suggests no struggle. Visible bruising around neck. Fold-up beach, chair knocked over by feet. All signs pointing to suicide by short drop hanging. Actions taken by the officer. Deputy Fascus was first on scene, cordoned the area. I called the medical examiner and arrived at 6:29. Pushed hard for immediate investigation so we could remove the body before school buses start running. Medical investigation begins at 7:05 a.m. but is interrupted. Romina Zappa ran up to deceased and wailing and cried, tried to grab deceased, had to restrain her so that she wouldn't disturb body and examination. She made work hard, called the body Pathfinder, and told us he used to live in a burned down farmhouse near town. Examiner took photos, hair, fingerprint, saliva samples gathered. Reporters showed up. We bagged the body at 7:32 a.m. Romina's details helped us track down property records. Body is Isaiah Kotsika. I might just refer to them as Isaiah. Was a resident decades ago and left town. Did in fact rent a farmhouse with some acres that had a major field fire. Abandoned since. Had previous out-of-state arrest for drug possession. Served 5 years for dealing acid. Selfish bastard hanging himself in the middle of town. Good riddance. So, see, he seems okay to deal with it, but that's kind of a big loss for Romina here. On top of that, we had a couple things revealed. We'll get to this story. There's also an artifact here, Father Bohiggins' Rosary, and I think I'm going to set him on there. It's only 2 minutes, and then we get a lot more computers, which is going to be good for us moving forward. And we have a bit of his story revealed, so we get introduced to him as well. Father Enoch Bohiggins says, Please, Romina, come here for meals and a bed. Remember, Corinthians, do not be deceived. Drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. And such were some of you. And you were washed, you were sanctified, you were justified in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and by the Spirit of our God. Yeah, Father, okay. We are all tested so that we can fully appreciate this grace and love you have kept in touch with your, or have you kept in touch with your social worker? No, I mean, how? All I got time for is surviving. Not going into towns for talks and talks and talks. And there's the dark, the bits, the little girl. And my mind is overflowing with thoughts. Next meal and stuff, I'm always tempted to drink because, my head won't stop bothering me. And nothing's working. Not sleep or church prayer or talks and talks. And Romina, all things are made possible through prayer. Pray with me. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. And that as it stands there. So it looks like he was trying to support Romina in her time where she was kind of struggling here and dealing with a lot of troubles here. Now, I'm going to keep progressing here because it looks like this would be the next one in the timeline. So I'm going to let that one continue. I believe we probably have enough here. Yeah, we can start actually building this. And we can actually send young Buzz and Danny here, and it'll build a little faster. I think what will happen is this will become a little bit more efficient when we start converting into building computers. We're still actually running this, which I'm surprised we haven't run out yet of computers and money. Oh, but we are getting pretty darn close. And again, so I'm not starting this in the future because you can see we really don't have that many computers at the beginning. I do have a few different idle characters. I wish there was some other things that I could do here. There doesn't seem to be any other artifacts, so I just might have to be patient here. And there isn't anyone else that I can put on science as the others are being used, so we'll leave that as is. And they're working on some government ones. Well, we do have Father Enoch here. However, I think we should try to use what experience here to further his story. So I'm going to keep him going. He did... we did finish Father Bohagen's rosary here as well. But I think then we should maybe wrap this up. So these worn beads have counted thousands of prayers across decades. So we've kind of revealed young Buzz here, some of his story, and then we'll follow into Father Bohagen's and as we move along here. But we're going to leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll come back again into some of the story here at Asbury Pines. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.